As Desmond Tutu once said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. These words ring out with a chilling clarity in the context of the current situation in Palestine, a land steeped in rich history and culture, now torn apart by conflict and strife, a place where the very essence of human rights, life, liberty, and security, are being violated on a daily basis. Let's consider the enormity of the situation. The urgency for peace and justice is not a theoretical debate. It's a matter of life and death, of dignity and respect. In Palestine, walls have become symbols of division and hatred. Checkpoints have turned into choke points of freedom, and homes are no longer safe havens but targets of violence. This is a stark reality that many are living through, a reality where basic human rights are not guaranteed but are fought for. Every single day, from the right to life, to the right to education, to the right to freedom of movement, all are under threat. The right to life, the most fundamental of all, is being denied to many. The right to education, a cornerstone for any progressive society, is being obstructed for countless children. And the right to freedom of movement, a basic human necessity, is being curtailed for thousands. Yet the world watches, largely silent. The international community, with its power to influence and enact change, has a crucial role to play. It's not just about taking sides, it's about standing up for what's right. It's about ensuring that human rights, the very foundation of our global society, are upheld and protected. And it's about acting now, not tomorrow, not in a week, but today. The need for immediate action is palpable. It's not about politics, it's about humanity. It's about recognizing the value of every human life and working towards a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. In the face of injustice, silence becomes complicity. The roots of the present are buried deep in the past. The Palestine-Israel conflict is no exception. This complex dispute has its genesis in the late 19th century, when both Jewish and Arab nationalism began to flourish. By the early 20th century, tensions were escalating, fueled by competing national aspirations and territorial claims. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 played a significant role in shaping the conflict. The British government, in this historic document, promised the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, without undermining the rights of existing non-Jewish communities. This promise, however, proved impossible to fulfill. The subsequent establishment of Israel in 1948, following the horrific events of World War II, instigated a series of wars and clashes. This period saw the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, creating a refugee crisis that continues to this day. Over the years, several peace processes have been initiated, from the Camp David Accords in 1978 to the Oslo Accords in the 90s. These attempts aim to resolve the conflict through the creation of two independent states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace. Yet, despite these efforts, a lasting solution has remained elusive. The conflict has escalated over time, with spikes in violence and suffering. The expansion of Israeli settlements in occupied territories, the blockade of Gaza, and the regular outbreaks of violence have all contributed to a deepening crisis. It's crucial to understand that this isn't merely a territorial dispute. It's a human tragedy marked by loss, suffering, and deep-seated animosity. It's a story of two peoples, both with legitimate claims and aspirations, caught in a cycle of conflict that has spanned generations. History often is a grim reminder of repeated mistakes. As we delve into this historical context, we must remember that understanding the past is key to shaping a more peaceful future. And perhaps, in learning from history, we can help to prevent its worst chapters from repeating. Behind every statistic, there's a story waiting to be told. And in the midst of conflict, these stories are often ones of heart and loss. Each number represents a life, a person with dreams, hopes, and a family. The human cost of any conflict is immeasurable. It's not just about the physical destruction we see in the news. It's about the lives disrupted, the futures stolen, and the psychological scars that may never fully heal. Let's take a moment to consider the children. Innocent souls born into a world where the soundtrack of their early years is punctuated by the harsh realities of conflict. Their playgrounds are often replaced by rubble, their laughter drowned out by the sound of gunfire. We must remember that these children are not just bystanders in this conflict, but victims, their innocence stripped away far too soon. Women, often the backbone of any society, also bear the brunt of these conflicts. They are mothers, daughters, and sisters, trying to hold their families together amidst chaos. They are forced to become the glue that keeps their homes from crumbling, all the while grappling with their own fears and traumas. Their strength and resilience is awe-inspiring, but it's a burden they should not have to carry. And let's not forget the elderly. Those who have lived through decades, witnessing the world change around them, only to find themselves in the twilight of their lives surrounded by violence and fear. Their wisdom and experience, which should be cherished, are overshadowed by the struggle for survival. And since October 7, 2023, UN agencies report over 10,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed and 1.5 million have been displaced by the Israeli siege and bombardment on Gaza. UN experts say that these attacks constitute war crimes of collective punishment and ethnic cleansing. Shamefully, the Prime Minister directed his ambassador to abstain from a vote on an immediate ceasefire on Gaza. These are the stories that don't make the headlines. These are the faces behind the figures we see on our screens. They are a stark reminder that at the heart of this conflict are human beings, just like you and me. People who laugh, cry, dream, and love. People whose lives have been irrevocably changed by circumstances beyond their control. It is crucial to remember, when we talk about conflict, we are not just talking about strategies, politics, or territory. We are talking about people. Human beings with hopes, dreams, and fears. We are talking about lives interrupted, futures uncertain, and a world that will never be the same again. It is not just a conflict, it's a human tragedy. The power to change lies within each one of us. Indeed, it does. Advocacy, the act of speaking out, of standing up for what's right, holds an unparalleled power in shaping our world. It is the driving force behind any significant change, any monumental shift in our society. It's through advocacy that we amplify the whispers of justice into a deafening call for action. Let's delve into some examples. The civil rights movement in the United States transformed the lives of many, breaking down the walls of segregation and discrimination. This was not achieved overnight. It was the result of relentless advocacy by brave individuals who dared to challenge the status quo and call for equality. Across the globe in South Africa, we witnessed the dismantling of apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation. This, too, was the fruit of persistent advocacy, led by the likes of Nelson Mandela, who dedicated their lives to the cause of freedom and equality. And we mustn't forget the advocacy for women's suffrage, a global campaign that fought for and won the right for women to vote. The suffragettes, against all odds, used their voices and their actions to challenge the societal norms, and in doing so, forever altered the course of history. These are but a few examples of the power of advocacy, of the change that can be achieved when we raise our voices for justice. In the context of our present discussion, the call for a ceasefire in Palestine is no different. It requires the collective voices of individuals from all walks of life, all corners of the world, to call for peace, for justice, for a future where all can live without fear. So let's lend our voices to this cause. Let's stand up for what is right. Let's advocate for peace, for justice, because it is through our collective voices, our collective advocacy, that we can bring about change. Change begins with one voice, and that voice could be yours. This is not just about taking a stand, it's about making a difference. As we navigate through the corridors of our daily lives, we must remember that our actions, no matter how small, can ripple out and have far-reaching effects. We have the power to influence change, to move mountains, to calm storms. And so, we must harness this power for the sake of justice, for the sake of peace. There are numerous advocacy groups tirelessly working towards a peaceful resolution in Palestine. These organizations need your support, your voice, your time. You can help them in their mission by contributing in any way you can. It could be as simple as sharing their posts on social media, signing their petitions, or even donating or prayer if you're able. Every bit helps. Moreover, educate yourself about the complexities of the situation. Knowledge is power. The more you understand, the more effectively you can advocate for change. There are countless resources available online, from articles and documentaries to eyewitness accounts and expert analyses. Seek them out, learn from them, share them. But remember, engagement is not a one-time act. It requires consistency. It requires persistence. It's about continuously raising your voice, about continuously standing up for what's right. It's about not letting the flame of hope die out, about keeping the fight alive. Collective action is key. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. When we stand united, when our voices merge into a powerful chorus, that's when change happens. That's when walls crumble and bridges are built. That's when peace becomes more than just a distant dream. So let's rise. Let's rise for ceasefire. Let's rise for humanity. Let's rise for a world where every voice matters, where every life is valued, where every heart beats free. Remember, the world is watching, and silence is not an option.